Today I'm in McCordsville, Indiana, and the reason I'm here is because it's growing. It's growing a tremendous amount, and there's a lot of new construction in McCordsville, but it can be a little confusing as to where to get a new construction home or even an existing home. Not that there's a tremendous number in McCordsville because it's not all that big, and a lot of it is very, very new. But this morning, I am specifically in a Drees neighborhood. This is called Vintners Park, and it is, without a doubt, one of my favorite neighborhoods so far, new construction neighborhoods that are popping up in McCordsville. And I'll get into a couple reasons why I like this neighborhood, but also why you should consider McCordsville and what's going on in McCordsville. So maybe it'll pop up on your radar. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, I'm Jason Compton with Living in Indianapolis. If it's your first time to the channel or you've been here many times, welcome back or welcome to the channel. Make sure that you reach out any way that you know how if you have questions about McCordsville, Indianapolis, just Fishers to the near north of us, Greenfield to the south, or anywhere around Indianapolis, the entire metro. We'll always have your back with those questions, and we'll certainly have your back when it comes time for you to make your move to the Indy Metro. Vintners Park. Behind me, they are putting stone on a home, and it was a year and a half ago, and there really wasn't a whole lot here. But McCordsville, again, that's where I am today, and I'm really on the far northwestern border of McCordsville. There's not a whole lot of McCordsville when you're going to the west of here. There's actually a super cool little place, Daniel's Vineyard, just on the back side of this neighborhood. There's actually a trail that can get back over to Daniel's Vineyard, which would be really dangerous, I think, for myself, wife, and a lot of other people that might be living in this neighborhood here. They have live music there. They don't have a huge restaurant or anything, but they have pretty good pizza, and then of course it's a winery. So they do a lot of winery type things. So again, be pretty dangerous living that close to it. It's one of the reasons I like it so much. But this particular neighborhood in this particular area, I like quite a bit because there's a lot going on in McCordsville, and this just isn't all that far from it. McCordsville has certainly a vision, and they are moving forward with that. And their vision is that they don't want to be this extension of Fishers and Indianapolis, because that's essentially what it's been recently for the most part. Fishers has grown so much to the south and to the east that it started to push into McCordsville, and Indianapolis, which is just off to the west, has grown out this way and slapped right up against McCordsville too. And so people are looking for places to go. And if you want a home outside of either one of those cities, this is a logical choice. But being deep in McCordsville, especially when you go further east and further to the south, there just isn't all that much there. Now that's changed, I would say not a ton, but it certainly has changed in the past 10 years noticeably. If you go just a little further south, you'll get into the next neighborhood that I'm gonna get into this video. It's called Hampton Walk by Fishers Homes. That one is just off to the south, still in a great location, but it's starting to push and get closer to Greenfield. So Greenfield to the south, which is weird on a map, it looks like it's really far out there. It's not at all. You go down 600 and the border of McCordsville is just slap right up against Greenfield. So it's growing quite a bit. And this particular part of McCordsville is close to the downtown area of McCordsville, which is where 600 and US 36 crisscross, and there's a little bit there, but nothing outrageous. So you've got a couple of restaurants, some gas stations, a CVS, things like that, but McCord Square is going in over there. Now this particular location for Vintners Park, you couldn't really walk to all of that, but if you were building out here or moving out here, it's nice to know that you at least have something like that pretty close by. There are other neighborhoods where you actually could walk to that particular part, and a lot of cool stuff happening there. I'll talk about that in just a few minutes, a little bit more. But McCordsville, with that vision of not wanting to be that residential extension, that's what the square, McCord Square, is really all about. So Fishers has done this well, Carmel has done this well, Westfield is on its way, Noblesville really has done it very, very well, but they've held on to this older square, which is just super cool. But there's a lot going on in Noblesville right now as far as construction goes. They all have done a really nice job of beating out that suburban sprawl. Now, people could argue with me all day long that it's still sprawl, it's still grown because Indianapolis has grown, so those cities have grown, and there's truth to that. But they've developed their own personality, and sometimes that's hard to see if you're just driving through, but if you know what to look for and you know where to go, you can start to see some major differences between all of those cities. McCordsville, with its growth, it's gaining on 11,000 people, getting close to 11,000 people in McCordsville, when it's just neighborhood after neighborhood after neighborhood, even though it's really not that way. But there are a lot of new construction neighborhoods in McCordsville. It can start to feel a little bit like sprawl, a little soulless. And so they are getting out in front of that and trying to make sure that McCordsville does develop its own personality. So this neighborhood, Vintners Park, again, this is one of my faves. I just like Drees homes anyway, though. So if you have questions about Drees homes or why I like them, reach out. I can definitely talk to you about it quite a bit, and it's a phenomenal company to work with. So reach out if you do have any questions about that. Not a very big neighborhood, but just one good example of a very nice neighborhood in there. So I'm going to head down to Hampton Walk by Fisher Homes next. So I'm a little bit south of where I was just a few minutes ago, up on that northwestern corner of McCordsville in that Drees neighborhood, Vintners Park. So this one is called Hampton Walk, and it's by Fisher Homes. And you can see behind me, lots and lots of open space. And then over here behind me on this side, which is to the south, more open space. On the other side, the east side, that's where a lot of the neighborhood is really developing right now. Just across the street, you've got McCordsville Elementary, and just to the north, just up 600, which is Oleo Road coming out of Fishers to the south, that's where downtown McCordsville is, or that McCordsville Square. So 36 goes through there, and there's some businesses along that road and a little bit along 600 here, but not very much. So as it's filling in between Fishers and much further south, Greenfield, as Greenfield's border and McCordsville's border, they are shared. This is all becoming one of two things. It's becoming residential or it's becoming commercial. A little further to the north up here in McCordsville, it's a little more residential, and as you get down towards Regional Airport and I-70, it's becoming more commercial through there, although there's some new construction. So this particular spot in McCordsville would be one of those places that right now I would say it's a little bit raw. It's not exceptionally pretty. You'd come out here and think, well, you know, what's all this gonna be? Well, this will be an exceptionally nice neighborhood. Like I said, Fisher Homes, they actually build a very nice home. You've got McCordsville Elementary across the street. You've got the Hancock Wellness Center just down the road. And all of this is filling in with more to do, and with the inclusion of what's going on there in downtown McCordsville, even more around you. And there's a little bit more here than what people would think. So this would be one of those locations in McCordsville, which is growing, that you're not going to get pushed too far to the south and too far to the east. When you go further east, there just isn't all that much there. And McCordsville is doing a lot of the stuff in the downtown area because they really just didn't want to be an extension to the east of Indianapolis and to the south of Fishers. And Fishers, the growth of Fishers, which has been really ridiculous over the past 20 years or so, is just absolutely huge. It's really pushed McCordsville to grow, and it's pushed Fortville to the east to grow quite a bit as well. So McCordsville doesn't want that. They don't want to just be that residential extension of either one of those cities. They want a little bit more of themselves, or a little more personality for themselves. So McCordsville, the downtown area, we'll get into that and just kind of take a look at what's going on there. Grab stop, intersection of 600 and US 36. This super cool place used to be a barber shop. Now it's a coffee shop, and they still held on to this little train car here, which is pretty neat. But this is becoming a busier and busier and busier and busier intersection behind me. And you can see lots and lots of, well, that's not a ton of traffic, but there is some traffic there, along with these construction cones. But just to this side of US 36, this is where that McCord Square, the downtown-ish area of McCordsville, is going in. And actually it's really super new right now, but you can see where it's starting to take shape. And I unfortunately can't fly the drone into this particular part because Indianapolis Regional Airport is just to the south, like I've mentioned, and so they have two runways there, and one of the approach paths for one of their lesser used runways is right here. Now they would be at a fairly high altitude, but your drone is just restricted. It's geo-fenced, so you can't break into that barrier over there. So anyway, it's kind of frustrating that I can't get an aerial shot of all of this, but I'll come up here to the entrance and show you what this looks like. Here's what I'm talking about. This right here is Indianapolis Regional Airport, and these are the approach paths. Anywhere in this blue, you're done. You can't fly anything. It's geo-fenced. And actually it says calibrate compass right now, but it'll say, once I do that, it'll say cannot take off. So I gotta come over here, or over here on this side in the yellow. These are warning zones. You can still fly, but it's just telling you you're close. But here right in downtown McCordsville, it's an absolute no, and it's totally frustrating. Okay, I've got to the entrance, and it is just absolutely horrible here right now. So back this way, we're looking at all kinds of, there would be apartments back here, so you have some living space too. There's actually another smaller neighborhood going on just to the south of here. Townhomes, single family homes, similar to that Hampton Walk that we were just in. But up here, they're gonna have an amphitheater, countless other businesses. There are a lot of businesses that are planned to be in there. And then of course, there are a lot that don't really know what's going in there just yet. But McCordsville, the plan for this is that, again, they didn't want to be that residential extension for Indianapolis and Fishers, so needed some kind of heart for McCordsville. Now, it's not going to be very big, and it's going to take years to develop, and it'll probably get better and better over the years. And so looking at some of these neighborhoods, and I can see Hampton Walk from here, the very northern edge of it, just down 600 here. And then where I was before in the Drees neighborhood of Vintners Park, that is literally just down the road. Not walking distance, but a super, super short drive, easy drive to this. But of course, the advantage of that one is that you're practically in Fishers, so you'll have plenty around you. So if you're looking for a place to get in McCordsville on the east side, or let's say you need to be east side or northeast side, and Fishers just isn't working out for you, Indianapolis and the Geist area is just not working out for you, and for the most part, you want something really, really new, because it's hard to get into McCordsville in something that is much older. You could get into something that's maybe from 2001 or 2 or 3 or something like that, but honestly, there aren't that many homes that are older than that because McCordsville is just not that big, and its population has really gotten much larger, even though it's still not big, much larger over the past 20 years or so. So most of what you're gonna see in McCordsville is less than 20 years old, and a lot of it is brand new. This is a really good opportunity. These couple of neighborhoods that I mentioned are really good opportunities to do it. You're still gonna be really close to Fishers, you're close to Indianapolis, you're right smack in the heart of everything that's happening here in McCordsville. And you don't have to push out to the east and be really far away from everything. So this doesn't feel, it used to 10 years ago, feel really, well, that's a loud truck, really pretty rural, but it no longer feels that way. There's just too much around now, and there's going to be more and more. So if you have questions about McCordsville or any place on the east side of Indianapolis or all over Indianapolis, then reach out any way that you know how, and we'll catch you in the next one.